Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man, at your subterranean service. Yes, I'm rising up from the sewers. I've just chowed down on some rather tasty toxic waste. And now I'm in the mood to light up the town with my big light bulb glowing eyes. Yes, what am I alluding to? 1984's epic crud buster Chud. Chud, which stands for, well, it stands for two things actually, as we will find out in the course of this review. But basically, being an exploitation pick set in New York with flesh-eating monsters residing down in the sewers and chowing down on anyone who happens to go near a manhole, or all the underground homeless people who live in colonies in those vast subterranean passageways, tunnels and old train tracks. Chud. Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. This is a great movie, this. Very low budget, 1984, directed by Douglas Cheek. The cheek of the man, I say. And yeah, it is a monster movie. It has the denizens of the sewers have been mutating over time because it's become a sludge pit for some nefarious government types to leave some toxic waste. Just dump it under New York City, no one cares. I mean, New York, you've had giant apes there, you've had all sorts of, chaos, bedlam and mayhem there. So they won't notice a bit of toxic waste. But people do, because the homeless people are going missing. Daniel Stern, the great Daniel Stern from the Home Alone movies and from Blue Thunder. It's awesome. He's the Reverend A.J. Shepherd. He ain't no real reverend, but he runs a soup kitchen. And he's begun to realise that some of his locals, his regulars, ain't showing up anymore. Detective Bosch from this precinct, this sort of rundown, it's in lower New York, lower Manhattan. You can tell I'm not from Manhattan, but it's kind of a seedy, rundown area. And Lieutenant Bosch has begun to notice a lot of disappearances, including his own wife, which we see in the opening of the movie. A lady walking a little dog down a deserted, you wouldn't. I'm looking at that. I'm a big tough guy, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to go down that street on my own at night, walking my dog, and I've got a great big husky dog, and I'm still not going to go down there, and I'm a special forces trained. But she does. Manhole cover comes up, big taloned green, slimy hands come out, whoosh, and she's dragged down there, and that's Lieutenant Bosch's wife. So he's got a personal quest involved in this too, because all the bigwigs, the Chief O'Brien, and all these, city dignitaries don't really care. What's a few homeless people? Doesn't really matter to them, does it? Got to keep quiet about the toxic sludge though. Don't want that getting out, do we? So you've got the Reverend AJ, you've got Bosch, you've got a photographer as well, played by John Heard, the great John Heard. Anyone heard of him lately? No. John Heard, for the time, was a great actor, and he and Daniel Stern, the Reverend, and Christopher Curry, who plays Lieutenant Bosch or Captain Bosch, were all friends. They all worked together in New York theatre, so they were all associates. Now, Daniel Stern and John Heard were very close friends, and they wouldn't agree to doing the movie until they got their good mate Christopher Curry on board. So in he comes. And they also didn't like the script and began to change and do a lot of ad-libs. So, and the two of them do work together brilliantly well in the movie. But you've got John Heard as his photographer. Him and his girlfriend, played by Kim Greist, who's a model of... She ain't the best looking of models, I've got to say. I've got a story about that actually, but I'll come on to that later. But anyway, and John Heard's character, whose name is, what's his name? George Cooper. Once again, I have the names here, because me and names. I'm getting older. They just fritter away. And names is for tombstones, baby. So, George Cooper and his girlfriend, Lauren, played by Kim Greist, That George is a bit fed up with the whole fashion shooting business, and he's begun to do a bit of a sideline in more sort of, relevant culture and societal issues like the homeless. So he's begun to get to know some of the homeless and begun to take pictures of them. And one of these homeless women that he's got to know gets arrested for trying to lift a copper's gun. Why would a bag lady want a gun? Her one phone call, she calls him. All these people are coming together now. The detective, the photographer, the soup kitchen director. But they've all got a vested interest in what's going on down below. More disappearances take place. A granddaughter and her granddad have hit the wrong part of town. Don't they know it? Pause to make a phone call, and the daughter watches like that as a manhole cover comes up. And yes, more of these big green hands come out. Because as yet, I don't think we've actually seen one of the creatures. Comes out, and granddad gets vamoosed. And more body parts are being found, and it's just getting a very sinister atmosphere. Reverend AJ has been probing down beneath, because under his soup kitchen is a network of tunnels. He can get into the big subterranean cathedral-like caverns where these people live, and he's found some strange detritus. He's found a Geiger counter. He's found a plastic, chemical hazard waste boot thing, and other knickknacks. The people who work with radiation and that kind of thing, only they would have it. So armed with this evidence and the fact that people have gone missing, the fact that some of the people that they've met down there have got huge great big bites taken out of them, and they've got pictures of that, and they're all mumbling about them and the ugly fuckers. And one spectacularly colourful down the nose who comes to the soup kitchen armed with a great big knife talks about Gog and Magog, demon lords, and they have the power to shut down the sky, and he's got this sort of biblical gusto about him, and you're like, shit, why can't they just say, look, there's some fucking strange things down there. I know we look and smell terrible, but there's worse than us down there. Trust me. Come and have a look. Bring your gun. So, armed with all this evidence that things are really seriously amiss, they managed to get the police chief there. They managed to get these bigwigs from the ones who were doing this sort of electrical, this energy survey down beneath. Hence the Geiger counters. Well, they've been doing that for weeks, haven't they? Do it every year. Yeah, but this one's been going on for a lot longer. Why are they still down there? What are they trying to hide? What are they covering up? So they arrange this big powwow, and the Reverend confronts them with all the evidence, and they're just going, oh, it's nothing. What? Monsters? Oh, really? You can hear one of the monsters there, because I'm playing the soundtrack to the movie, and it's got a few of the really atmospheric sound effects in it too. Oh, speaking of sound effects, you might hear some guzzling now. Yeah. So, and they're getting nowhere, obviously, with these people. And Daniel Stern, who I think is a tremendous actor, and he really, again, like John Hurt, who I will come on to again later, they deserve a lot more respect than they get. Daniel Stern just kind of gives up in the end. He's just like, he says to like the police chief, at least you kept your mouth shut. You, to the commissioner or the mayor, you're a fool. And then to this guy who's actually in charge of the supposed energy company who were down there, like, he goes, you, sir, are a liar. And a little tussle ensues, and this liar's briefcase flies across the room, and when it opens, some documents come out. AJ has done a runner already, and Bosch, Detective Bosch, one with the missing wife, picks up, and it's headed Chud, C-H-U-D. Chud, what's Chud? Oh, it's nothing, it's just an acronym. No, what is it? Give that back, it's private property. What does Chud stand for? In the nick of time, this bigwig, this bureaucrat, gets a phone call from his men just over the block somewhere. What? You found one? Right, gentlemen. You want to know what Chud stands for? Let's go and meet him. We've got one. cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller, which they put on chemical suits, and it's like an autopsy in like a little porter cabin really. They pull the thing back and there it is. Oh Jesus, you only see it reflected in their visors to try and keep, you know, the big reveal of the monsters, you know, a bit more suspenseful. Well, what is it? It's an offshoot of the you know, the chemicals and stuff down there. Don't worry, there's only been one. That's it, it's over now. So a cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller. You already got a name for these things. You knew this was down there. This is what they confront him with. Yes, but it's all done now. But what about all the other people who've gone missing? How can you be sure? Well, I'll send a crew down there with Geiger counters and all our scientific stuff, and we'll prove it to you, Bosch, that there's no more down there. Well, okay, but I'm going to send down one of my teams too. I'm in control here. I don't take orders from you. And then you get this great sequence where, which kind of harks back to the likes of Them, where they go down into the ant's nest with the gas masks on, the cyanide gas down there, and they've got flamethrowers. And these technicians and scientists and boffins go down there because they reckon this one's been killed by a gas leak. That's what they say anyway. They go down there, and this bureaucrat, Wilson his name is, and he looks like, for those of you that remember classic British comedy, vintage British comedy, On the Buses, he's a dead ringer. His name's George Martin, and he plays Wilson, and he's a dead ringer for Blakey. I'll get you back, lad. He's a dead ringer with this guy, which makes him even more officious, and you just want to fucking slap him, like. But he's great because you hate him. He's good at that part, like. So these guys go down there, and like as they get into the subterranean warren, there's a SWAT team down there, gas masks on, shotguns, bullets and weapons, and like this Wilson goes like, "Get your men out of there now." He goes, "No, my men are staying down there. You know, whatever you guys find, my guys are going to find too." And he says, "Benson, get those men out of there." So he goes, "Your man's got a camera, mine's got a flamethrower." And he turned around with his flamethrower. It's a great little moment. Sadly, this great moment ends up being not that fantastic. Clearly, the likes of Aliens and Them have this sort of thing in. So you can see their cameras, you can see their camera footage being beamed through, and you just see something moving down there. So they fire off the flamethrower. It's a big wall of fire, but you see shapes moving through the fire. Then you hear lots of gurgling screams, and the footage cuts out. It could have been really good, but anyway, it's low budget. You've got to remember that. Anyway, the way this whole thing transpires, the Chuds are hungry. They're going to come up from underground. They're going to start chowing down topside. Wilson has the bright idea of flooding again, like Them. He's going to put gas in that borough and just, you know, completely just asphyxiate them all down there. And they go, "Well, what about the people who live down there?" "Well, we'll give them a chance to get out. It'll just be a certain block." No. In the meantime, AJ, Daniel Stern, he's been followed because, having already incurred the wrath of this energy company, is it an energy company? What the hell is Wilson really involved in? We'll find out. But he's put a tail on Daniel Stern, and when they realise that, you know, look, there's definitely monsters down there, all the rumours are true, Daniel Stern gets locked down there. John Hurd's met this reporter, this jazzed up, you know, throwback 60s hippie reporter who smells a story, so he tags along. He's got a gun. Him and John Hurd will go down into the warrens beneath the city. The reporter gets killed. John Hurd manages to get the gun. He stumbles across some of the people he's already, you know, that he's photographed, people that he's assumed were friends. The guy who was injured with a big bite out of his leg, that guy's already eaten his brother, or at least half of his brother. And these two guys are Victor and Hugo. Gothic horror writer Victor Hugo. And but this Victor's awoken, so George Cooper has to blow him away. So you're going to now have Daniel Stern, Soup Kitchen boss, the photographer and Bosch all running about all over this borough trying to save everybody, because these things have come up and they've chowed down on a diner full of people, including John Goodman, the great big John Goodman, way before Roseanne, and before he became a really nasty bad guy in movies. And he was the other guy. The guy's with as well. Yeah, I forgot his name. No, I haven't. But he plays. The two of these guys play coppers, and they go in for like a bit of a snack at the end of their shift or whatever. And both of them, including the other guy, are famous American TV personalities. But I forgot the other guy's name. It's irrelevant. These all get eaten. So of course now everyone knows. They seal off the area. Wilson's got his men to block off all the manhole covers, and they start pumping gas in there. So you've got John Head and Daniel Stern running for their lives. They've already encountered these creatures. Oh yeah, I've almost forgotten to mention the creatures because you don't see them that much. And every time you do see them, apart from one scene, which I'll talk about in a second, they're from a distance, or it's just a quick stock shot really. Daniel Stern, stumbling around down there in the catacombs, sees these creatures around a glowing mound of this green, glowing, toxic waste, and which looks like the reactive agent from Reanimator. It glows that kind of green, and but they just seem to be doing some kind of ceremony, bowing down and praying to it. But he stumbles on some rocks, and they hear him, and they turn around, and that's pretty much it. He legs it. He will encounter George Cooper, the photographer, and the two of them will then team up. But you don't really see the creatures again, apart from one major sequence. Because Paul Lauren, remember her? She's the not so attractive model girlfriend of George Cooper. They've just moved into this tenement block, and there's a bit of a problem with the plumbing. She goes down to sort it out. She finds a dog hanging there, which looks like the dog that poor Bosch's wife was walking at the start of the movie, and it's hanging there. So obviously it's not. The Chuds don't want to eat canine, they want proper man flesh. And she finds this, runs back upstairs again, calls the cops. Cops take a while to show up. In the meantime, down below in that basement, the Chud, or at least one of them, has come upstairs. Yes. He knows someone's onto him. So he's heading upstairs now. And in a completely gratuitous shock sequence, you see her in the shower. Because obviously, dirty dog, I must shower now. No nudity, by the way. And the shower, the plug backs up a bit. So she reaches out, gets a coat hanger, starts poking around. That's never a wise thing to do. Blood eruption, sprays everywhere. No idea where it's come from. What the hell has caused that? Is that Geiger counter again? Whatever it was, it's going away now. And blood sprays absolutely everywhere, and it's, oh God, what the hell's that about? But she does kind of calmly then forget about it. What's been shoved under there? Is there a carcass there? What is it? You really don't find out. Anyway, then the Chud breaks into their apartment. Now you've seen, in occasional shots, you've seen that George has a collection of swords on the wall and just sitting on a shelf. They'll come in very handy. She flees into his photographer's dark room. This thing comes in. The only time you get to see one of these properly, great John Caglione Jr. did the special makeup effects for this movie. John Caglione Jr. Got an Academy Award for doing the Dick Tracy makeup effects for the Warren Beatty Dick Tracy. He would also become the go-to makeup man for any Al Pacino movie. He would apply the makeup. The two of them formed a bond. They worked well together. And John Caglione, who'd started out making gory effects, kind of moved out of that and moved into just character makeups, not necessarily monstery stuff. And he served under the great makeup illusionist Dick Smith, the guy that made Reagan's head turn around in The Exorcist, who also worked on A Giant Ant in Them, as it happens. Everything turns full circle, doesn't it? And and she gets in the dark room and it comes in and she throws developing fluid over it. And then she gets outside, slams the door on it, gets the sword and waits for it to come crashing through the door. And it doesn't. It comes crashing through the wall behind it in a great moment. Whoa, you're like, oh Jesus, wow. And then, completely bizarrely, its head then stretches on this huge elongated neck. A bit like the Pee-wee monster from Evil Dead 2. And she just goes, whoosh, and decapitates it. And again, like Evil Dead 2, the head will then, still alive, start nibbling at her foot. So she actually boots it away. And these strange bright yellow light bulb eyes just dim. Apparently the effect was for the eyes was made by using that paint that they use on traffic signs. They're light bulbs. That's what they are. But by the way, what you can hear there is the shower. If you listen in a second, you're going to hear the massive blood eruption. That's her having a lovely shower. Kim Grease, by the way, she went on to star in Brazil and Manhunter for Michael Mann, and she's not that bad at all. But I made a mistake whilst watching this film many years ago with a gang of us, and I was saying, oh my god, because there's meant to be like a sort of semi-nude photo shoot. That's the blood coming out. So is that Muttley laughing there? Muttley? And we were sitting there watching it, and I gaffed good style. I went, oh my god, is she meant to be attractive? I said, she's an absolute pig. And everyone just looked at me, and I thought, what have I done there? My mate, his girlfriend was sitting next to him, and why the hell I hadn't even cottoned on, she was a dead ringer for Kim Grease. And everyone else had thought that but said nothing. And I went, she's an absolute pig. And I was like that. And I'm going, what? Oh, you're nicer than her. God, you don't look nothing like her. In the end, he married her, you know. We don't talk though. But yeah, so she manages to destroy this. She realizes there's shit's going down. The cops who came to help her got offed on the way in, or that was like most of the kills. In fact, if not all of them, they're off screen. Even the Bosch's wife at the start, which is that's tragic, that. And Christopher Curry plays it well. He plays it sort of not on the nose. His job kind of comes first, but this has become personal because his wife's involved in it. And then a horrible discovery at the docks is the severed head of his missus, and he and some cops find it, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's his wife! Get him out of here!" Cut to like a scene in the bar where shaking, looking for whiskey. I just had a glass of whiskey before, and he's got the whiskey and a ciggy, and like it's a token gesture to show his what's the word? Remorse. And like how badly he feels about this. And it's kind of like, you think any other movie that would be a really big moment, and it's kind of weird that they actually put this in, because you're not really thinking about people's emotions in this movie. It's just the great bicker banter between Daniel Stern and Authority, the great sparring between Bosch and pretty much everybody, and the antagonistic approach that John Hurd as George Cooper has with also everybody. So it's kind of, you've got all this going on. Anyway, the big finale, they've got to try and get out of the manhole cover, and they've managed to pick up off the severed head again, a headphone set, and get the camera working from all those teams who got decimated in an earlier sequence. And they managed to get Bosch, and they said, "Look, we're down here, you've got to get us out of here, the gas is coming down and the creatures are everywhere." Well, they say that, but you don't see any of these things. You get the impression they're all around, but you don't see any of them. So Bosch is like, "Get to this manhole cover, corner of so-and-so, Lafayette Street, and they've got vans parked on them. I'll get it cleared so you can get up there." But Wilson, remember him? Blakey from On the Buses, the guy in charge of it all? Because Chud does not stand for Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dweller. It stands for contaminated hazard urban disposal. And what Wilson really is, he's the government's trash can man. All the shite that they get from all these perhaps illegal, unsolicited laboratories, just bag it up, put it in drums, a bit like Return of the Living Dead. You know, trioxin, whatever it is, Trixie, blah 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 blah, which creates zombies, and just hide it somewhere. He's been dumping it under Manhattan, and not caring about what the effects would be. And of course, it's produced out of the colonists of homeless down there. They've become mutated because of it, and then they can put the infection onto other people by a bite. It's never said, it's never properly ascertained how this all happens. It doesn't matter. It's all in just excitable schlock fun. Anyway, Wilson fights back. He will shoot Bosch as he's trying to get the manhole cover off. Daniel Stern and John Head will finally get out, pick up Bosch's gun, shoot Wilson, who drives into the open manhole cover where there's gas, and somehow just driving into that will cause a hell of a big explosion. But the gas has killed all the creatures, hopefully, and it's killed Wilson, and everyone's happy. And Bosch seems to survive, even though he got a bullet which seems to have come out through his heart. But anyway, all's good that ends well. All's well that ends well, whatever it is. And everyone's reunited. Chud is great old school 80s entertainment. The soundtrack is by two guys from OMD, believe it or not. And I'm going to forget their names because it's not the main two guys. It is Martin Cooper and David A. Hughes, who, under the name Cooper Hughes, composed this synthy electronic score for Chud. How the hell two guys from OMD got to do this, I don't know. I'm a massive fan of OMD, and I knew that they were involved in this, but I still don't know how they got their names attached to it. I mean, the music doesn't sound anything like OMD, but it is this pulsating, rhythmic, electronic synth stuff with modulated voices too, doing this kind of like chanting, which is quite good. The effects are okay. Caglioni's makeup effects, they do the job. The severed heads and body parts are nice and bloody and messy, but you'd love to see some proper kills take place, which you just don't. I said I'd talk about John Heard. John Heard starred in the great, tragic, tense thriller with Jeff Bridges called Cutter's Way, down in Florida, and they uncover a murder of a girl by some tycoon. And John Heard's character, John Heard also starred in Cat People as well, and many other things, but in Cutter's Way, he plays a pure Snake Plissken lookalike. He has Snake Plissken's long hair, he has the eye patch, he's a Vietnam veteran. One arm is a stump, one leg is completely useless, so he's on crutches, but he's hard-bitten, aggressive, he's on a quest, he's on a mission. His love life is in tatters. His own best friend is doing the dirty on him, but everyone, his closest, do love him, but he's on a suicide mission to uncover, the truth behind this murder, and he is magnificent. It breaks my heart watching that movie and that performance. I love the film to bits, and it's so strange to see him in this, where he's kind of slumming it, hey? But he's great. Daniel Stern, as I say, is great. Christopher Curry as Bosch is great. In a little bit of, that irony of things, Christopher Curry would then go to star in Home Alone 3. Daniel Stern was in the Home Alone movies, which I've not seen any of. But true, I haven't. And Christopher Curry would play a homeless guy in that. Ironically enough. The locations used in Chud are all genuine. It's all filmed in Lower Manhattan and all these slum areas and tenement blocks. They did build some sets, some tunnelways and passageways, and like sort of these cathedrals. People are gonna scamper around underground, but they used the real, underground train system as well. And they film in all these locations, and it's very sweaty. It's clearly a very hot time. Everyone, you wouldn't see it now. Everyone's got huge sweat patches on their shirts, on their backs, under their arms. It feels grimy, wet, and slimy. So you get that icky feel of the sewers. It just works so well. 3 films captured New York in this sort of time period. Wolfen, which is one of my all-time favourite movies, which totally captures New York at the time, and even has the granddad who gets pulled out the telephone box. He's in Wolfen as well, and Ghostbusters has that New York feeling. Wolfen, Ghostbusters, and Chud all capture New York during this period. There's even a line in the original theatrical cut, which is shorter than the full version. There's a line where Kim Grease is screaming for help, and someone shouts across the street, "Hey lady, just call the Ghostbusters!" But in the full version, that line's removed. Anyway, folks, I'm going to cut out of time here. So this was another whistle-stop tour through a classic, 80s bit of crud-busting horror hokum. Chud! They ain't staying down below anymore. They're hungry and they're coming up for takeout. See y'all later. And don't talk about the semi-sequel, Chud 2, Bud the Chud, because that is crud.